I've had Orlo for almost 4 years, and the only time I changed oil was when I did the timing belt and water pump job 2 or so years ago. So it's definitely time to change the oil, even though it's probably only been 6,000 miles. So the first thing we're going to do is come over here and raise it up a ways on the lift. So when I started lifting Orlo, I noticed that the right side tires were not fully on the red track, so I had to stop and redo that. So I got my chocks in place, removed the ramps, then it's just a matter of, this tire's still a tiny bit off, but the front's on, so 3 of the 4 are fully on. I think this will be good. Now I just need to push the magic button right up here to raise the lift. I'll raise it about 4 feet so it's easy to get underneath. And of course that's a sure sign that it's been a while since I changed the oil, because I forgot the oil filter is accessible from underneath. So I'll give you a quick tour of the 78 engine compartment. They have this very cool factory cold air intake that goes back to the air filter in the back into this central plenum, and then each cylinder has its own runner. So this is called the spider intake in 928 world. I didn't have a right cap for my washer fluid, so I conjured up something with some PVC pipe to do for now. This is the famous post. It's not supposed to be a yellow, but I had that hose cover, so I put that over the terminal there. That's a positive battery post. So if you want to jump the car, the battery's in the back, you can use this positive, and then I added this just for an easy negative for if I need to jump start the car. Distributor cap, this is the warm-up regulator. Gas comes in here and goes out. There's a cold start valve here. One of these is an auxiliary air filter for when the air conditioner is on. The fan, if you can see it down here, is interesting. It's aluminum. It's a little scary. I've heard of a couple of them breaking apart. But let's get back to the task at hand. The car is chocked. The lift is ready. Let's lift it. And of course that's a sure sign that it's been a while since I changed the oil, because I forgot the oil filter is accessible from underneath. So I'll give you a quick tour of the 78 engine compartment. They have this very cool factory cold air intake that goes back to the air filter in the back into this central plenum, and then each cylinder has its own runner. So this is called the spider intake in 928 world. I didn't have a right cap for my washer fluid, so I conjured up something with some PVC pipe to do for now. This is the famous post. It's not supposed to be a yellow, but I had that hose cover, so I put that over the terminal there. That's a positive battery post. So if you want to jump the car, the battery's in the back, you can use this positive, and then I added this just for an easy negative for if I need to jump start the car. Distributor cap, this is the warm-up regulator. Gas comes in here and goes out. There's a cold start valve here. One of these is an auxiliary air filter for when the air conditioner is on. The fan, if you can see it down here, is interesting. It's aluminum. It's a little scary. I've heard of a couple of them breaking apart. But let's get back to the task at hand. The car is chocked. The lift is ready. Let's lift it. Okay, once the lift is high enough, if I step back here, we can see it's 3.5 or so feet. Then we just lower it by releasing some of the pressure, and it catches on all 4 posts in these different holes. So you can position it any one of these distances. Well, you can't use these last two because the ceiling's too low. If you'll see, I've already cut a hole in the ceiling, and that's so that when I put the Boxster on top, I can raise it up high enough to get or low the 928 underneath of it. Talking about oil in the 9.2 community is about the same as talking about coolants. Lots of opinions. I have chosen to go with Brad Penn 20W50 oil for this change. I've never used it before, but plenty of people talk it up, especially for these old cars, so that's what we're going to give it this time. In addition to the Brad Penn 20W50, we've got our OEM MAN filter W730 with the replacement aluminum crush washer for the drain plug. Alright, so now we're down underneath the 928. I'm going to get down here on my back for a second. Look up. You see the nice sized oil pan, aluminum, undamaged it appears. Nothing major at least. Here's the drain plug, here's the oil filter. Nice that they're right next to each other. Yes, I have an oil leak. I believe it's at the back of the cam box on this driver's side. It's making a bit of a mess, but it's a lot better than it was when I first got it 4 years ago. It may also be coming from somewhere closer towards the front, the oil. And you'll notice the non-OEM air conditioning condenser, or compressor I should say. The original one seized on the day I drove it home, and so I replaced everything with a Griffith system and have pretty decent cold air in the car now. So we're just going to find the right sized wrench for that drain plug and start it to draining. The drain plug takes a 19mm socket. I couldn't find a non-deep well 19mm, but that's nearly identical to 3/4 inch, so that's what I'm going to use. And I'm just going to crack it loose. And then put the drain pan up on one of these strip pans. Oh, maybe not. Doesn't seem like that's going to fit. So in that case, I'm going to lower it down and leave the drain pan on the floor so it doesn't splatter too much, hopefully. Alright, change of plan. I pulled out the Home Depot bucket, set the pan on that, and lowered it one notch. The lift I lowered one notch. And so now we're going to hope and pray that this doesn't make a terrible mess. Turning it with my gloved hand. I'm going to keep my hand here in case it shoots out too far, which it just might. The oil is warm, but not hot. Okay, there we go. Down in the pan. We'll let this drip for, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, and see what we have then. While the oil drains, I found an oil filter tool, removal tool. I didn't know what size socket it was, so I'm writing on there that it takes a 22mm. And I also have replaced the old crush washer on the drain plug with a new one, and removed, it looks like some RTV material that was up above the old crush washer right against the drain plug. So hopefully when I put this back in at the proper torque, it won't leak, but we'll see. Having a lift is a wonderful thing, and so are these LED light tubes. But with the lift, you need to think twice every time you raise it or lower it. You can see this leg here is original, and this one over here was squashed down. Fortunately, I didn't break the light, so it's still usable, but that's because I didn't check before I lowered the lift at one time. The oil's still draining slowly. I'm going to remove the filter now with this wrench here with a 22mm drive. Okay, a couple of things. As soon as I went to clean up the filter wrench tool, what I'd written on it wiped off. So I wrote it again, and then I shot it with some clear paint. Hopefully it will stay there, and I'll be able to read what I wrote next time. Secondly, a shout out to Mark at Pass and Gas Garage for giving me these tips. I'm going to try and show you one. I wrote the date, at least the month and year, on the end of the oil filter. I should have done it before I installed it, but anyway, it's up there. And then on the drain plug there, I put a super magnet, a neodymium magnet, which should catch any metals floating around in the oil. I was kicking myself briefly because I had ordered a oil testing kit and it didn't come today, and I wasn't collecting oil for that kit because I didn't have the container, and then I realized there was so much oil still in the oil filter that I just saved that oil, and when the kit comes I'll fill it up with oil straight out of the filter. I think that wraps up this job. I just need to pour in the oil, which I don't think anybody needs to see how to do that. So I torqued the drain plug to 29 foot-pounds. There was some debate, but that seems to be plenty tight, and what some people at least had recommended. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and tell your friends about it. And I hope to be doing many more videos on this car, on some other projects that I'll tell you about in the near future. Take care. One more thing. This oil is shockingly green. I know it says it on the label, but I've never seen it before, and it's very, very, very green. Take care. Before I got Orlo, I was into triathlon, as you can see from the bikes up on the wall. And after workouts, we would talk about all the dead soldiers, meaning the water bottles we had consumed. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's the 8th oil quart put into Orlo last night. Reminded me of the dead soldiers. Welcome back to Scoper's Garage. This is an addendum to the oil change on my 1978 928. I ordered a kit to test the oil from Blackstone. It comes with the sample container to put the sample container in, a bag to put the container in, and a couple labels. So I'm going to attempt to retrieve oil from the oil filter that I saved last night. It's still kind of drippy. Let's wipe the bottom off. And I'm going to put the camera down to do this. Okay, I've collected what I believe to be is plenty of oil in this container. I don't know, it's not half a quart. It's 100 mils maybe. And it's very nice. They provide a shipping label already, so I just need to put this all back together and ship it off. The main reason I'm doing this is I have a suspicion that this car has been running rich for a while, and I want to see if there's an excess of the fuel in the oil. And I believe that they'll be able to tell me that. Okay, so I've put 8 quarts in Orlo. I have checked the dipstick. Now I'm going to take a quick peek underneath here. I don't see any leaks that would be from the new oil. I don't see any wetness at the drain plug, so I'm going to go start it up. Just before I start Orlo up, I wanted to comment, I mostly love the gauges on this car, but the oil pressure gauge, I don't understand why it is the way it is. When the car has the right amount of oil and everything, and it's anything above idle, it reads full pressure, like past 5. So we're going to start it up, and that should go there. And then I'm going to turn it back off pretty quickly and go check and make sure there's no leaks. So it took a second because the oil filter needed filled up, and that's a pretty big volume. But now it's pegged, and I'm going to turn it off and go check. And here we are back underneath. No gushes. I see what looks like a drop of oil on the oil filter, but I don't think that's anything to be alarmed about. I'll wipe that off and check it again, but I think it looks like we're good to go. Say goodbye, Henry.